Hello, and thank you for coming along and joining Nikki and I today. So Nikki joined me on the CPD for Coaches About Being Trauma Informed, and she's agreed to come back very graciously and speak to me about her experience and also just her views on working in a trauma-informed way as a coach. And thank you, Nikki, for joining me. You actually have joined us from, so I'm in the UK, in the southwest of England. Tell us where you're from, Nikki.
Hello, Lydia. And yes, I'm actually in Australia, in Victoria.
Yeah, so it was lovely. Before you joined me on the course, we had a bit of a discussion. How was that going to work with the time zone? So yeah, how did that work for you with the time zone? Because it's 9 o'clock here now for me in the morning, but 6 o'clock for you in the evening where you are.
Yes, it was a little bit of a challenge. It did require a lot of coffee, but thank goodness the course was so engaging that it kept me awake until 2:30 in the morning. No problem.
I was just blown away at your commitment, and yeah, you stayed completely engaged and interacted the whole way through. It was great. So thank you for joining me, Nikki, again now, and tell me a bit about you, who you are, who you work with, how you work.
Sure. Okay. So I started my career actually as a television and radio journalist. And then several years in, I transitioned into media and communications. I'm really passionate about helping people to improve the way they communicate. And it started in terms of advising people on how to deal with the media, but then it transitioned into more internal communications and looking at how, at a corporate level, how, communication can break down so quickly and how improving that can lead to so many great outcomes and feelings of safety in the organization. And so I found myself naturally starting to work in a bit of a coaching space. And so then when I did what most Australians do, go to London and do their 2-year working visa, I discovered NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and life coaching. And I did my training and it blew me away. And I just thought, this is for me. And so I came back to Australia and integrated it first into my work as in public relations and communications. And then now for the last few years, I have been running a business as a life coach and NLP master practitioner.
Amazing. And so who is it you help? Who are your clients?
Okay, so my clients are the ones that really struggle on the inside. Maybe they've got the job, they've got the partner, but actually they struggle with how they feel about themselves. So there's self-worth challenges, imposter syndrome, perfectionism, all those sorts of things. Okay. So I really work with people to help them to improve their self-awareness and to really connect in and work on their self-worth and level of self-acceptance and inner belief, and also just helping them to live authentically. Yeah, it's my passion.
Amazing. Lovely. And so how did you get interested in being trauma informed and bringing that part into your coaching?
Well, I always had an interest in it. I think in my initial training, my take on it was stay away from trauma. That's the message we were given. And so, but what I found is that the clients that I was attracting, there seemed to always be some degree of trauma in their past. And so I had this conflict of, where's the line? And although I felt like, I had a general sense of, yes, when to refer or when someone was coachable, but I didn't have a great deal of confidence in that. So I was actually actively looking for a course where I could develop that level of confidence and have that really clear line on when to refer and what is coachable. And so I was delighted when your course came up.
Oh, great. And where did you find it out of interest? How did you come across it?
So I'm a member of the Association for Coaching. So it came up as one of the CPD opportunities. So I jumped on it.
Oh, amazing. Great. So what did you want from the training then so that you could bring that into your work? What was you've talked there about that boundary between where do I refer on and where's my coaching, working with people with imposter syndrome, that sort of thing. But what is it that you wanted to get? Was it just that or more than that?
Initially, it was just understanding, having the confidence in myself to know where the line is and what's coachable and what needs to be referred on to some other, either therapy or healthcare service. But what I got was so much more, actually. What I got was a much deeper understanding of the prevalence of trauma and how it can show up in so many different ways. And what I got an understanding of is that as a coach, we don't necessarily have to walk away as soon as we see a sign of trauma from someone's past, that actually there is a place for coaches to work with people who have experienced trauma to help them move forward and to help them thrive, but just really kind of understanding where they're at and whether they are in a coachable space to be able to step forward and be future focused instead of continually being drawn into the past.
Absolutely. And that's one of the keys, isn't it? It's, being trauma informed when meeting the client where they're at, and fully, engaging with them at that space. And really I'm hoping like the first day is really us delving into really understanding where is your client at, and is this the right place for them to be in coaching? Is on that journey of we've all got past experiences, and how is it impacting us today? So really being able to help your client with that, noticing what they're there and then and here and now, but then where are they on that journey, and is it appropriate? So coaching has got a place, but is now the right time, and is my skill set the right skill set to help this person get where they want to get to? And it's having that real clarity, isn't it? And each person on the CPD always has slightly different backgrounds. Some are executive corporate coaches, working with execs and CEOs and things. Some people are more holistic and more have a spiritual background. And some people are, like life coaches, and then also NLP coming in there as well. So there is a real mix. But I think having that real clarity of where does my toolkit sit, so that I can work, and we go into those principles of actually how do you work in a trauma-informed way, coming alongside my client and coaching them towards their goal. But are they a good fit for me, and am I a good fit for them? And really having that awareness is really helpful. Lovely, great. So big question, did you get everything that you wanted from the course then? I guess,
Absolutely. Yes, I certainly did. I got exactly what I was hoping for. And then, as I said, I actually got more, which is wonderful. And what I really loved is when the course, because there's so much, and you can only pack so much into 2 days. But what I loved is what you provided was, a whole bunch of resources for those that are interested in furthering and deepening their knowledge in certain areas. And so that's what I've done. And I really, really appreciated that.
Yeah, great. So what are those areas that you've deep dived into more? What are the little points that we touched on that you found really interesting?
I think the polyvagal theory was a big one for me. Coming from an NLP background and just even coaching, it can be quite mind-based. But what I love about the polyvagal theory is just how body-based, the communication between the mind and the body, and just that 80% of that communication is coming from the body up and only 20% is coming from the mind down. And I found that fascinating and a real invitation to slightly change the way I work in terms of doing more somatic kind of informed work and seeking more training in that space to be able to do that at a deeper level. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yes. And that, I think that is the future of coaching. And I see the Association of Coaching are looking at somatic coaching more. My training with MBIT, multiple brain integration, is definitely, if anyone who's watching this wants to learn more about how to tune into your body and start listening to not just our heads, but actually our heart and our guts and our whole nervous system, definitely be looking at the MBIT way of working. And it is absolutely key, that bottom up approach, because a lot of people, if they could think their way out of this block that they were in while they've come for coaching, they would have already done that. And so helping them engage with the body and what's the body doing, and instead of fighting each other, of actually unifying and work in a holistic way, is absolutely key. And yes, I've got an NLP background, and there are some NLP people that are a bit more somatic, but I absolutely, that was the key for me, was bringing in the body-based approach of actually listening to the whole system. because that's often, as you said there, that the block, if it's in the body, it's way stronger, or the unconscious, and we need to be engaging the whole system. Wonderful. So how are you embedding the trauma-informed bit into your work already?
Okay, so I feel like there's probably 3 main areas, and the first is, even in the screening process, even I'm changing the way when people are, coming to speak to me about working together, the questions that I'm asking are different, and you really guide us through how to do that and at what stages and even what questions to ask to know whether they are coachable and where they're at. And I found that incredibly helpful, and I'm actively doing that now. Also, I think in the way that I'm tuning in differently, like, being NLP trained, sensory acuity and calibration are absolutely key. But I think now, with the information that I have around how trauma can show up, and, the fight, flight, freeze and fawn, really tuning into the intricacies of those, and you go into those in detail. And then, so just knowing what's happening for someone, not necessarily in what they're saying, but what's happening in their body, and how many signs that can give us about, actually, oh, maybe they're moving out of their window of tolerance right now. Okay, step back. What can I do to bring them back in, type thing? Those sorts of really practical tools I've started using straight away. And then, that third is probably specifically the tools that you gave to help people come back into the window of tolerance. And some really simple tools, but very effective tools, even just using the breath, tuning in to the body. And I've found that enormously helpful.
Oh, amazing. Oh, I'm so excited for your clients. It's like you're doing amazing work. It's amazing. Yeah. And because we can become so disembodied, can't we, and separate from our bodies. So helping people recognize where they're at is with their bodies, and what their body's saying to them it's just absolutely key. And I'm glad that you're using those tools, again, somatic based tools of helping people how to start coming out of dysregulation and come back to a regulated place, so that they can start to think a bit more clearly, rather than their heads being offline. Amazing. So sort of to wrap that up then, around what's your biggest insight, would you say, for coaches working in a trauma informed way, or for you from the CPD?
Yeah, I think I'd say predominantly just the prevalence of trauma. I was really taken aback by that, just how widespread it is, but also not just the fact that one thing can happen which someone might define as trauma, but actually it's how people interpret it, and how people, how they have the experience, and how it embeds and imprints in them, and how that can be so different to someone else who had exactly the same experience. So I think that was a real takeaway for me, just in terms of how it can show up so differently and subtly in some ways, but in bigger way. Just because it's a subtle response doesn't take away its impact potentially in terms of what we're working with. So I found that a big takeaway and a big insight for sure. And then just everything about the polyvagal theory I found really fascinating, and somatic, working in a more somatic way.
Yeah, amazing, lovely. And so if you've any coaches watching this and hearing your insights, who would, if they're wondering if this is for them, who would you say this is for as a coach?
Well, I feel like it's for all coaches. I feel like it's for everyone that works with people, because trauma is so widespread, and just in terms of and really simple things like just taking a more compassionate approach to the way you speak to someone, and a sensitive approach to the way you speak to someone, can have such a big impact on another person. So not even just in the coaching space, but certainly for coaches, I would recommend it to all coaches.
Wonderful. Oh, thank you so much, Nikki. And it was an absolute pleasure having you join on the 2-day CPD, and chatting with you again now across the airwaves. This is one of the gifts now we have of online, isn't it? So is there anything that you want to sort of, before we wrap up, share or say anything further you'd want to say to us?
I think we've covered it all. I think we're okay. Yes. But just a big thank you to you, Lydia. Like you bring such passion to your workshops and to your courses, because I did, you know, a workshop with you as well prior to doing the course. And you bring such passion, but also such knowledge and lived experience, and you know, the way you share all of that so generously. I think it's wonderful. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Nikki. It's an absolute pleasure. And I look forward to seeing how your work goes and integrating this in. I'm seeing you on LinkedIn and what you're up to. So thank you. And maybe our paths will cross again. I am hoping to develop the 2 days further, adding other modules in from different areas to go a bit deeper for people. So yes, thank you. And I hope everyone has a good day that's been watching this. Thank you. Goodbye.